with inflation rising and the fuel costs, how are the cruise companies optimizing operations to stay profitable?
Well, the big goal of all cruise lines is to improve operational efficiency and to focus on cost reduction. Cost reduction can be achieved through quality itinerary planning, by reducing the fuel consumption through low mileage itineraries. That's happening more and more now. And looking at the entire chain and seeing where cost efficiencies can be made. And in many cases, that's done very intelligently. But we feel the pressure as agents always to look at ways to reduce the cost. And those ports that raise the cost too much, cruise lines will move. So ports are becoming aware of that, and there's competition sometimes amongst ports, especially to be the home port, because there's a much more revenue is generated for a home port operation than a transit call. So I think there's in every element of the fabric of the operation, they're looking at cost efficiencies right through the chain, but doing it in a way that has the least impact on the guest experience, and in sometimes trying to improve the guest experience. Mm-hmm. So as an agent, we always focus on operational efficiency, cost reduction, but above all, guest experience.
Guest experience.
And those are the key elements of putting this thing together. And all the other members of the chain need to realize the same: the port authorities, the destinations themselves. And of course, if you have more volume, you can often reduce the cost. So that's another way, is centralizing your volume and looking at the cost. But ultimately, with inflation, prices sometimes have to go up. And those brands that are the most highly appreciated, they can put the price up more. Whereas the brands that, not so well appreciated will be more difficult.
Yeah, true.
I can give an example. If you look at the price of a cruise for Disney, it's huge. I still think they give value for money because for what they do, but it's quite a high price. But true. The brand is very highly valued.
Yeah, true.
And there are many more examples. So it's important to have that reputation of the brand to keep the price up.
True.
Because ultimately, price increases will be necessary. But I think that hopefully we'll be in a world where inflation will be, they'll get inflation under control. Mm-hmm. I know this is a big focus of the Trump administration. So, and remember, 50% of the market is North American. Yeah. So the source market. So that's very key. What Trump is doing is going to equal another boom in cruising in the next 4 years.
Oh, you think so?
Yes. And hopefully that will lead to more new builds and more confidence in the market. Yeah, I see really positive things happening in the US. But in Europe, I call Europe a museum. I'm a little bit more worried, because the inflation, the cost of energy is crazy now in the UK and Europe, and the inflation can be quite high, and I don't see a plan to get out of it.
Yeah,
and the cost of the climate agenda is now getting very prohibitive for all businesses, just to manage the regulation apart from the taxes. So the European market, I worry moving forward what's going to happen. Hopefully we see that in most elections, voting towards the right is happening more and more.
I think the gas prices is just because Russia is creating issues. Maybe after the war is over between Ukraine and Russia, maybe the prices may go down of the gas. What do you think?
Yes, but they've made such an enemy of Russia, so I don't see that deal could be done anytime soon with Europe. I mean, you can see that there's now bilateral talks between US and Russia. I'm watching it daily, all the geopolitics. It affects my business, so I need to know what's going on.
It's going in a very different direction what anybody could have thought, yeah?
I mean, before the war, I had set up the new Russian cruise line on the ship Astoria Grande. I did the entire work, to support it. And then I had to give away the business because of sanctions. And this was devastating for us, And the war is a lot more complex than people think. And it's not straightforward.
Sure.
And I don't want to go into the weeds. I could, but I don't want to go into the weeds of it. But it's much more complex than people realize. And there's much more to it. And there's two sides. And, the propaganda on all sides is clouding the reality of what's happening on the ground. And my personal thoughts is, number one is life is the most important thing, and we should have peace. And we don't want loss of life. At all. Loss of life is not, there's no reason for it. Loss of life. Everything needs to be just, sorted out. We should be civilized.
True.
In our age. And there's no such thing as a military solution. I've never seen one. It always ends up more war, more death.
True.
War equals death, and there's no winners in war. Only the future generations or the future control of the narrative is the only winner.
True.
Because history is told by whoever wins.
Whoever wins.
But that's only a narrative. It's not necessarily reality.
True.
And when countries look at what happened to Germany after the Second World War, Germany became an economic powerhouse because the more pain you go through, you have a resurgence because you go back to tangible reality.
Yeah.
And you work hard and you plan properly. And those that won the war went into recession.
Yeah.
So there were no winners in war.
Yeah, true.
And we have to stop at all costs. And I think that it will stop now.
I think so.
And also it looks like the conflict in the Middle East is stopping. So I'm hopeful that the
world will
Ukraine war will stop. But I hope that the belligerence of war stop.
Very true. As you rightly said, this is the age that we should not be fighting and killing. It's the age of innovation and maybe finding new ways of making new money.
Yeah.
So
we're just human beings.
True.
And they're all sides of human beings. And when you don't talk to the other side, however bad you think the other side is, or however bad they think you are, when you don't talk to them, that's a failure.
True.
On your side. You have to talk.
True.
And you have to engage, as painful as it is.
True.
And whatever you think your side says, you have to. And you have to stop the killing fields. There's no need for it.
Mm-hmm.